Hi, how you doing?
Good. So we are here today to obviously talk a bit about your company, which you've recently started. Not so recently though.
I was going to say, yeah, it's
It's like a
probably
year old, right?
17 months, 16, 17 months, yeah.
Okay, you haven't recently started at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's scrap
For
that.
some people, I might.
Exactly. But yeah, let's rewind all the way back to when you and I first met each other
Okay.
and kind of what that involved. So would you like to tell our audience, or do you want me to?
You tell them. Go on.
I met Dave, gosh, what, like 3, 4 years ago?
I don't know, the pandemic's been 3 years.
Yeah,
So it could be.
pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I met you when I was on the hunt for a new job, basically.
Yes, you did, yeah.
And we sat down together to discuss potential jobs, but also to let you give me a hammering about my CV and interviewing skills. So I'm hoping that my interviewing skills have got a little better considering I'm sitting here doing it with you today.
Yeah.
But yeah, how tables have turned. We were both in full-time job roles at the time. We had no idea or no potential, new business on the horizon. And now look at us, we both have our own company and turned 360 and now working together again.
Absolutely, no, brilliant. Absolutely, no, brilliant.
But let's start. I want to really articulate across what your company is, why you started your company, and really what you can do for potential candidates out there, because you really are like no other when it comes to the recruitment industry. Certainly not anybody that I've met anyway along the road. So
it's nice of you to say.
Those who aren't familiar with us, I'm Emma Gray of Gray Digital Marketing, and you are?
David Sadler of Sadler Recruitment. Very unique name to my business as well.
I was going to say we both got our second names in our company, don't we?
Got to be recognised.
Very creative, aren't we? Yeah. So let's get a little deeper into Sadler Recruitment. So
okay.
I've got a couple of questions here, but basically, just tell me why Sadler Recruitment was first formed. What made you take the leap from being employed full-time in a safe job, I guess some would say, to starting up on your own?
Right, where do I start? So setting up the business was kind of forced upon me. So the pandemic had just started. It was about March, April 2019, I believe. And I'd worked for Acorn, great Welsh business. I'd worked for them for 12, 13 years. I started the IT recruitment brand for them because they were obviously known for being specialists in the temporary market. Worked my way up, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I got the call to say, unfortunately, you're going to be made redundant. Honestly, it didn't see it coming. It was a shock to the system. Looking back, I had 6 months that I could spend with my son, which was quite nice. Because he was obviously 2.5 then. But I went through I remember chatting to you. I went through a range of emotions, and then all of a sudden, I just thought, right, this is my calling. This is what I've got to do. So I spent the next couple of weeks really thinking about what I wanted and how I was going to do it. And I decided that this is it. I'm going to set up a recruitment consultancy, an independent niche technology recruitment company. And yeah, Sadler Recruitment was formed. My focus really is to be not like any other recruitment company, and I'm sure you'll chat to me about that. But it's me. This business is me. So when companies or clients, as I call them, candidates, they're speaking to me. They're not speaking to someone I employ. Everything they get is me, and what that means is that I'm giving them 15 years of recruitment experience. I've seen most things. I've never seen a pandemic, I admit that. But I'm pretty comfortable that I can give the best level of service in terms of when someone needs an IT job. I feel that I'm pretty well placed, and the business is set up to make sure I give my expertise to those individuals.
So you touched on something there that you're different from other recruiters, etc. So I'm just going to put myself out there and say it right. Whenever it comes to the world of recruitment, I think it can be pretty pretentious at times. I stereotypically think of that man in the suit that's going to talk down to you. I mean, I'm sorry if we offend any recruiters there. I'm sure you're not all like that. But, what actually makes you different? What is your USP when it comes to Sadler? You know, like how do you stand out against any other recruitment agency or recruiters out there?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I hear that all the time. We compared to mobile phone salesmen, estate agents, car salesmen. Again, I hope I don't offend anyone.
But we are offending people.
But we all get tarnished by it. But so I'm not surprised, and I've seen people like that. I've seen how the industry over the last 10 years has been built. I see how quickly people think they can earn money. It's sales ultimately. So these jobs give people a basic salary, and then obviously they can earn money on top of that. So you're going to get those sort of personalities and attitudes to a certain extent. But I guess in answer to your question, why am I different and what's my USP is me. So ultimately, I'm not like that. So you know me now. Obviously, a lot of people watching this will hopefully know me. I feel like I'm quite an anxious individual. I do worry a lot about things. And with that comes compassion, empathy, and they're things that I think make a good recruiter. I think ultimately, yes, I've got to sell a job to someone. I've got to convince someone to go to my client, but I think I do it in the right way. I feel like I build friendships quite quickly. I think I can get to know someone quite quickly. And I'm not your typical recruiter, I suppose. And people over the 16 months I've done this have written some unbelievable things as testimonials. And a lot of that I absolutely love, because it's not about, you were good at what you did, you were fast. It's all about how I understood them and what they want to achieve from the next career move. So I think my USP is me, and without sounding big-headed, it's probably that I get people, and I know and I can help them get what they want.
So explain a little more to me about that. So obviously not many people, or nobody's ever worked with a recruiter before. They're not quite sure of the whole recruitment process. So, you know, some people might be under the illusion that the recruiter takes a bit of their salary, or, you know, like they're only in it for themselves type of thing. So kind of talk me and the rest of the people listening to this through the kind of, from getting into contact with you through to being placed to a job. What does that look like?
Okay, so there's lots of questions in there. So in terms of so people have asked me this loads of times. So candidates I'll take any question from any candidate. In terms of how does Sadler Recruitment charge for its services?
Yeah.
So what we do is we work with clients and we charge them a percentage of an annual salary. Some people think it's a lot, in terms of it can range from 10% to 25%. Some agencies will charge. And then, let's say standard figures, someone's on £40,000, you charge 10%, the fee's £4,000. But what do I do for £4,000 is ultimately what I have to get across to a client. So I think the first thing is that when I contact a candidate, I have spent hours trying to find that candidate. And I'm not just simply sending out one email and hoping that it sticks. I know my market, I know the skills, I'm targeting specific people on LinkedIn, I'm sending messages, probably for each job 20, 30, but I know some recruiters will send 500, especially in this market where...
But each of yours are specifically tailored. You do a bit of research into that candidate.
Yeah.
So you're not just blanket sending them a message, you're tailoring that. I've seen you've got experience in X, Y, and Z. That's relatable to this job role, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've spoken to LinkedIn, I've done training, I've spoken to you, and I don't believe in blanket mail shots. We're in an industry where I need to understand that person and where they are. I would like to, I'll be brutally honest here, I would love to spend more time sort of writing lots of really specific stuff, but I've got a job to do, I've got jobs to fill. So it's a skill in itself where I feel like I can just get key bullet points from what the job is, and what it can offer. I'll probably put in a little bit about, I know where they work, I know what projects they've got on, I've got a feeling I know what salary they'll be on. So I feel like I can sort of walk them into, oh yeah, he gets it a little bit. And that's kind of where my success on LinkedIn will come from. But we use job boards, so CW Jobs, Reed, Monster. There's lots of things that I'm paying for constantly. So going back to the question about fees, that's what I'll charge the client. But there is a lot of time invested in going into finding these people. And then obviously I enter the process. So we talk, I'll talk them through the opportunity, I'll qualify them, make sure they're right. I'll arrange interviews, I'll manage the interview process. So one of the things that I hang my hat on is I think I can pretty much get most people through interviews and improve their technique. Okay. And that's the other thing, obviously, that I'm charging for. I'm making sure that the clients are getting the very best, not only technical fit, but cultural fit. And that's kind of what I do in the interview process. The last thing to add, and it's not that I'm justifying necessarily, is there is a lot of time invested into people that don't get placed. And what do I mean by that? So I could have invested 6, 7, 10 hours in a process with somebody, and unfortunately they've decided to go to someone else, which is great for them, or the client themselves has decided that that candidate's not right for them. So all that time that I've spent on marketing and my time is gone. So you've got to try and get that balance. And I think the fees that we charge are a reflection of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, you touched on there, obviously you've spoken to me, etc. Should we talk a little bit about our roles and what we are and how we're working together?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I can start with that. Yeah. So being an entrepreneur, so I don't even see myself as an entrepreneur. I've got a recruitment business, but I think I wear so many hats. So like today, I'll be wearing a finance hat, a marketing hat. I'll pick the phone up, so I'm selling. There's so much to do in a business, but I don't want to grow the business right now. So I know I've got to manage that. So what does that mean? I need people like yourself. I've obviously reached out to you. Obviously, we went through that process. I know what you're doing. I know you know a lot of the people that I know. You're involved with like Welsh Government and Alacrity and all the companies that I know as well and have grown to know, you know. So it works really well. So yeah, I rely on you to help me with digital marketing, basically.
One thing that I really enjoy working with individuals who are their company. So, you know, you embody your company through and through. You know, your ethos, your drive, your ambition, who you are shines through. And I think that's something that I'm really invested in, is people buy people before they buy into anything else. Yeah. You know, and even when we think back to how we first met, and years on, we've still got a friendship and now a working relationship with one another. Yeah. That just, you know, pays tribute to the fact that you are a genuinely good guy, you know?
Yeah, but don't do yourself disservice. So I struggle to write really good content.
I mean, I'm not going to say that.
No, exactly, exactly. But there's things like you've shown me in terms of like formatting the adverts, making them look appealing aesthetically, the way I write, simplifying things. And I think that's a skill in itself. Like I feel I've got a skill in recruitment, but just making my brand look. Like I remember Dan at Langford and Acorn used to tell me all the time it's about schemes and colours and branding, and I just sort of went with it because Acorn had things set up. But when you're on your own, I was just like, 1 minute the advert looked like this, next minute it looked like that, and I remember calling you and you're like, Dave, like what have you done? You need some sort of
refine it all, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been really good at doing that, and hopefully that continues moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to pick you up on something.
Great.
Great. So, you know, we talk about, you know, this pretentious, like, stereotype that recruiters tend to have.
Yeah.
I think some people could mistake you for being a little bit egotistical. The fact that your face is all over your brand. Is that intentional? If so, why?
Wow. Yeah, I guess it could come across as
egotistic. That was quite hard, wasn't it? That was quite brutal.
No, not at all. It's a really good question, and actually I've thought long and hard about that, because if my USP is me, and I put an advert out there, and every time someone looks at that advert they see me, I'm hoping they'll see the genuineness of what I'm trying to do. I could put I'm not going to name companies, but there's loads of recruitment companies that banner all their company all over it. Mine's just a small logo in the bottom right corner, and then my picture, because it basically is me. So you identify, well, hopefully, that people think, all right, okay, I'll be speaking to Dave. And there's nothing worse than I hear all the time from candidates, oh God, they didn't understand this, they didn't understand that, or they just sent my CV. There's so much negativity in terms of what is a very difficult job, I must say. And I hope my people see in the picture, they look at my LinkedIn, he's got 15 years experience. They hopefully feel like they're in good hands. That's why I do it.
Nice answer.
Hopefully.
Nice answer. So, in my experience, not many recruiters tend to, know their industry or sector inside out. Obviously, you work and specialise within the tech sector here in Wales, which is huge in itself. You've got fintech, you've got agri-tech, you've got so many different, sectors within technology. But then again, you have so many roles. I'm not even going to pretend I know what they are, but like a DevOps,
nice,
something else, something else.
Yeah.
And then within that, you have your different technologies, don't you? Like Java, etc.
Yeah.
Etc. Because I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
How do you, as a recruiter, make sure that you stay up to date with the latest, understand your sector in order to obviously place the candidates the best you can?
Yeah. Something I feel very, very passionate about. Take you all the way back to my childhood. I remember my dad saying to me, you can't sell something or you can't offer something if you don't understand it. I was like, Dad, that's like, really? And now the more that's sort of gone through my life, I really, really resonate that with recruitment. So I'm passionate. I'm quite geeky, I think, in terms of technology. I did computing at A-level. So I've programmed. I know obviously a little bit about hardware and infrastructure, not a lot, but a bit. And then in university, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, like a lot of people. And then I decided to do computer science. Not a great idea, and I'll go on to that in a bit. But I learned about algorithms. I learned about the cloud. I learned about programming languages. I learned about lots of different things within tech. I then, after a year, decided it wasn't for me, moved more into business studies. But I've always felt like I understood technology and what it's about. And then when I set this business up, I knew I had that in my locker. And there's lots of people who work in recruitment who are motivated by the money and trying to learn on the job. I feel like I had that background already. And I think that served me well during my career in tech recruitment. How do I stay abreast of everything? I'm constantly on social media. I'm constantly looking at articles. But the one thing that I do is, and it's not a trade secret, I phone people I know. So I know for over 15 years, I should know a few people. So there's lots of things emerging, like you said, DevOps or cybersecurity, or there's new programming languages all the time. I'll just phone people that are doing it and I'll say, look, tell me about it. What do I need to know? How do I need to know the basics so I can understand the technology? And I don't need to be able to program. I don't need to be able to reset a network or a server. But I need to know how to question someone, because how can they trust me that I know if they're good or not if I don't understand my subject?
Absolutely. I think that's huge. I think that's a really big point.
Yeah.
And something that makes you stand out and so different.
Yeah.
Because your passion shines through the fact that you are so invested. And one thing I really picked up from working with you is you're almost as invested as the company in placing the right candidate.
Yeah.
You get, if not a little bit more invested, into understanding their needs, their wants, what drives them. Is it the right company culture? If not, where else can you go?
Yeah.
If that candidate doesn't get placed, what continued support can you give them? What feedback? How are you always bettering that person? And that's something that I think...
That's a good pitch. Jesus.
I know. I was going to say, should I just work for you now?
No. I think that's a really good point, though. So the people that know me really well, my clients, candidates, I've known them for 10 years. I still talk to some of them I placed in their first job. And how do I do that? I'll constantly shout someone a coffee, or I'll meet them for a beer after they've been placed. Or Wales is a small place then. People know people. So ultimately, I spend a lot of time trying to get to know my candidates. And like you say, sometimes I'll go for a beer and someone will say, but why? Like, you might never see him again. And that's not my attitude. My attitude is I like to get to know someone. I feel that they could be a friend. But also I like to see people do well. So if I'm there on hand to help them, I haven't got all the time in the world, but I will do my best to meet up with people and stay in touch with people because it means something to me.
Yeah. So almost like you're building a community as well as the business, the transactional side of things. You're trying to also build that network of individuals and people that are trusted, isn't it?
Yeah, but absolutely, 100%. But if I don't have a network, what do I have? So I could put an advert out like lots of recruitment companies and companies do, but that's quite reactive, and that's only for the time. But if I can go, so a lot of what I do when a job comes in, so if a client calls me with a job, the first thing I do is I'll go to people that I know and say, who do you work with? Who should I contact? A lot of times they're like, Dave, no, there's no one I know or whatever, and see the privacy element of that, and I totally get that. But I just feel like I can just pick up the phone, speak to someone, and I'll know a few people straight away. And going back to what you say, your network is everything. And I've got 15 years of placing tech people in Wales.
So, obviously, you're very passionate about recruitment. I mean,
does that come across? Does it?
Trust me, you're not lacking the passion at all. You'll be glad to know. But what do you think makes a good recruiter?
So I've recruited recruitment professionals for like 8 years, and it's very evident to me. So one of my passions, as you know, is sport. Big Liverpool fan, play a lot of golf, not as much as I want to, but
is this where you're going to do your football analogy?
Yeah, very much so. It's about the will to win. You can't work in sales if you haven't got that will to win. And if you can supplement the will to win with genuine hard work and not stopping until you found someone, you're halfway there. It doesn't matter what you're selling. I genuinely believe that. Recruitment, though, you need to be kind, you need to be empathetic, but you need to temper that with that desire to win. And if you can get that right, and it's not easy. It is genuinely not easy. There's moments where you'll be up here because you've done a deal and it's made you X, and then all of a sudden that person, for whatever reason, something completely not their responsibility or because of what they've done, drops out, you've lost everything. That's not easy to balance. And everyone I've managed, I've tried to work with them to try and get that right. But it's a very rewarding job. It's very hard work, but there are really good benefits to it as well. And a lot of people that I've managed would say that you've got to try and get that balance right.
Interesting. So,
why you want a job?
Do you know what? I just don't think I would cut it, to be honest. But I want to know, and I don't know whether you'll give me the hot goss or not.
Yeah.
But who are you currently working with in Wales? Like, who's your clients? Tell us a bit more about that.
Okay. So, and this is something I want to bring up because I think it's important. So historically, let's say 8-9 years ago, if I told people who my clients were, what do you think happens? First thing that happens is all other recruiters go and phone them and say, look, I got a much better service. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. Let me show you my candidates. And you would almost say that is commercial suicide to basically put out who your clients are. But as you've told me over and over again, the world is changing and people want to take comfort from who you work with. So I've put them on my website. I'll tell you a few now, but I think it's important to understand that it's not that easy to say who your clients are because you can lose. You could lose opportunities. But if you're confident enough in your service, you shouldn't, I suppose. And I hope they don't mind me saying, so I basically worked with Hodge Bank. So they went through a major digital transformation for the last probably 5-6 years. I worked with the CTO and helped him build out that team, that technology team that scaled to 80, 90 people over that time.
It's incredibly impressive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, what Hodge have done and the services they've now got online is really, really good. I work with a consultancy that's quite new to me in terms of the service that I've not worked with them before. Sorry, better way of saying it. Company called TPX Impact, who are a digital transformation consultancy that work very well do a lot in the public sector. So they're looking to build new age technology, cloud-driven, secure systems. So I've worked with them to try and find people of all levels, from junior through to architect level. I work with a software company in Swansea called Visolution. So I've worked with them for a long time and got some really good relationships there. So I've helped them build their technology division out, or technology company out. There's a few more, but I'm happy to talk to people if they want to know what clients I work with. But it's very busy, and I get lots of calls. Not be a big hit. I get a lot of calls from companies saying, "Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" So I don't really, and recruitment isn't always busy. So sometimes I might work with one company and then I'll work with someone else, but I might not hear from that one for 6 months. So I'm constantly looking to get new clients on board. But as I found in the last sort of 12 months, it's trying to get that balance and not take, and we talked about it before, not take too much on and have a limit of what I can do at one time. But to be honest, the clients that I speak to have been brilliant with that. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview. People watching this can get an understanding of who I work with. But really, a lot of what I do is skills driven. So I'm looking to work with people that have set skills, and I'll use my knowledge to then go to companies and say, this person's available, would you be interested?
And I'm assuming that you act on complete discretion as well.
100%.
Discretion?
Yeah, it's candidate and client confidentiality. So yes, absolutely, and it's a stressful time searching for a job, and the last thing you want to do is make your company where you might be looking, or even have your friends get an understanding or colleagues get an understanding you're looking. No, absolutely not. When you talk to me, it's very much about confidential agreements and conversations that don't go anywhere else.
Amazing. One thing I am very aware of is how well you are known within the ecosystem here in Wales. You know, tends not to be an event that I go to where somebody doesn't know of Dave Sadler, which is incredible for you. You know, that just pays tribute to the fact that you've worked so incredibly hard to build that reputation and credibility throughout Wales. How does that make you feel?
Humble. I think, it's great. Not everyone knows me, but ultimately I feel like if people know who I am and the service that I offer and the experience I've got, that's not a bad reason to have a business. So I think that's important. But I've spent years going to events. I've spent years speaking at events. I've spent years sitting on tables and taking clients for drinks and going to it's a lot of time and effort. So I've spent a lot of time trying to develop and build my network. I see huge value in meeting people. So the pandemic it was quite tough for me. I don't mind doing this. I don't mind doing Teams conversations. I just don't feel like you get to know someone properly. So I love just spending time with people and getting to know them. And I think that probably is reflected in people going, oh yeah, he spent a bit of time with me. I get to know him. I've seen him at an event, because I don't do enough of it. I want to be at more events. I want to come to your event. But it's trying to temper how much time I've got. But I see unbelievable value in face-to-face contact and trying to build that network. But also, I see it as what I want to do. I'm not in it just to meet them to get something out of it. And people see that, I hope. I don't want people to think, oh, he's just meeting me and shouting me a beer because he wants my business. That's not why I do it. I do it because I want to build relationships, because who knows what's going to happen in the future.
Talking of the future, what's next for Sadler Recruitment? What are you working on? Give us a little insight into this.
Sorry, it's my phone. I should have turned it off.
Jeez.
Sorry.
That is an absolute rookie mistake. You know that?
Never mind.
pinged the whole way through.
I'm in recruitment, that's what happens.
Yeah, so give us a bit of insight into what's next for Sadler.
Much of the same. I think I don't want to change anything. I want to work with you to really focus my brand in terms of what I'm trying to do. I want to be more candidate targeted, and what I mean by that is I want to work with people that don't really want to enter the rat race. I want to work with people at their earliest point to say, look, Dave, I've seen you've got experience. Can you talk to me about what companies are out there and who we can talk to? I've done it with a couple of candidates. There's one on my website. I might as well give it a bit of a plug. So I've done it before, but I love what I do. Like, I'm in front of a computer just constantly searching for people, and I just want to work with the same companies that I'm working with. I want them to improve and get through the pandemic. I want to work with new companies that are exciting. And if you're asking me, am I going to take more people on or am I going to do different things? The answer is no, because I think the uniqueness comes from just what I'm doing. So I don't know, does that answer the question? I'm just going to keep going.
It does answer the question.
Yeah.
Are you, obviously you have quite a lot of experience and you have quite I don't want to say you've got a reputation within the tech industry, but you do have a reputation, right? You're known as being quite experienced, you've got quite an innovative and fresh approach when it comes to technology and that kind of sector and scene. Are you involved in anything that's helping shape or bring that sector a little more forward and modern?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I'm basically trying to guide you to tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very passionate about the tech market evolving. So I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion. I'm very passionate about levels of education and what they can offer. So I do a bit with the Software Academy in Newport, Cardiff Universities. So I'm constantly looking to educate their students, trying to give them the best opportunity of moving into roles in the future. I would love in sort of 2022, 23 to have an opportunity to work with people to create new pathways to try and get more people into tech. So as everybody knows, these pathways are quite limited at the moment. And I think I'm really, really passionate. And I've done it recently. So I worked with DevOps Group and AWS to try and get more people. And these guys and girls were from underprivileged, underrepresented and underprivileged backgrounds, and trying to get them into the opportunity to earn good money in a good opportunity for long term was really important to me. So yes, I am very interested in trying to create new pathways, and who knows, I've got a few ideas of what I might do.
I'm excited to see what the future holds, indeed. So I have my last kind of question to you is, what do you want the audience or whoever listens to this kind of episode to take away? What do you want them to, what's your takeaway? What do you want them to walk away with from listening?
Yeah, I think just to get to know me. So what I think my strength is, and this isn't all about me selling to the audience. It's when people talk to me, they very quickly understand, I think, that I can help them find a good job. So what I want is, not many recruiters get on and do this. They're kind of faceless a little bit. When they're on the phone, they're obviously talking to you, but not many people come out and say what they do and how they do it. So what I want from this audience is just to get to know who I am. If it helps them pick up the phone or connect to me on LinkedIn, then that's all I want.
Beautiful. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I think I kind of want to ask a question to the audience as well, a little bit. And this is something that's really bugged me for 10 years. And I know you know what I'm going with here. I see LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a tool that everyone uses at the moment and has done as a professional network. But I see so many statuses about, like, I don't even know what you call it, just promoting themselves in, like, celebrating, like, people with champagne, or they're constantly talking about something that I just don't think people will relate to. So what I'm really keen to do, and I hope people in the comments can do this, what do you want to see on a LinkedIn status that gives genuine value? So jobs, it's no problem. That's standard. I'll post jobs, and if the timing's right, you'll apply for the job. But is there articles you want to be seeing? Is there interview advice that you want to be seeing? And with mailers have got such a bad name in recruitment because they're so badly matched, because these big CRM databases recruitment companies aren't brilliant at sectioning off who does what. So in a mailer, what do you want to see and how specific do you want it to be? So, and I know I'm sort of working with you to try and get this right, but I just think recruitment marketing is one of my biggest challenges and has been for a long, long time. I'd rather not post something about celebrating something because that's the type of person I am. But I understand why recruitment companies do it, because they want to show what their company's about and their employee engagement. I understand that, but that's not me. I'm not there. So what do people want to see?
I think there's a lot to be said for that humanized approach to things. You know, like you're the one that, you'll celebrate success, but you are also the person who'll post about having a not so great day. You know, you're being really transparent in what you've said just now. Not every day is that complete high on that win type of feeling. Some days you just want to put your head in your hands and think, what the hell's happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think being able to articulate that to your audience, people buy people, right? At the end of the day. So if you are this recruiter that's untouchable, that can do no wrong and can't go ever wrong, you know, you're not really somebody that people can relate to.
No,
whereas
absolutely
you're
not.
Dave, you're this everyday guy, you know. Not to squash your ego or anything, but you're an everyday guy you can have a coffee with, you can chat anything about. Chat to you about anything, is what I meant to say. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, and I think that's why your socials have worked so well. And the fact that we're working together on that audience segmentation so that we can add real value to these people that come on board. It's not just about, oh, we've got these amazing jobs. It's about actually, Dave, there's an email that's come into your inbox that's specifically tailored to you with jobs that you have the capacity or you have the accreditation to apply for. And I think that's where your added value will really shine through again within the industry.
Thanks. But how often does that happen? So I get mailers constantly in Gmail or whatever, this every day. I still get sort of recruitment companies that are trying to work with me to find recruiters sending me stuff every day, because I've obviously given some sort of details at some point. I don't want that in any way. I want somebody to be able, and I know this is the golden nugget, if you like, but I want someone to be able to receive that mailer to go, wow, all right, he's thought about me. I'll stay in touch with him. I might not look for a job because I might not look for 4 years, but actually I'm quite keen in what he's doing. I get what he's trying to do, and I'll be in his network. And that's the golden nugget I'm struggling to get, and that's what I want to do in 22, 23. So that's what we got to do.
We're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's what I wanted to get across. I want people to get to know me. I want people to understand what we do. But also, if anyone's got any questions or wants to chat to me, even if they're not looking for a job and just want some advice, I'll make the time. I'll chat to people.
I love that. Well, I hope that anyone that's listened has had some value from hearing this story. I think it's nice to sit down with someone like yourself and really get under the bones of your why and what your ambitions are, and also to show that you're available, you know, for people that are looking for jobs, but also for companies that want to, you work with somebody who's incredibly passionate. And I think you're not just a recruiter, but you're embedded within your team also. So I really hope that people have got some value in listening to this and hearing your side of the story as such.
Yeah, and I think, I guess we touched on this, but you just mentioned something that's really important to me. How can I do my job properly if I don't understand the company? So I spend a lot of time, I annoy so many people in companies just saying, can I speak to the director? Can I speak to the manager? I want to know this. I want to know that. can I shout them a coffee? Can I shout them a beer? Tell me what it's like to work there. I'll go and visit their office. I'll go and speak to multiple people on a Teams call. I'll speak to the team. I need to get to know who they are, because I genuinely believe, unless I know the ins and outs of a company and what makes them tick from a technology, but also from a personal, cultural point of view, I can't do my job for them.
And culture is huge, right?
Yeah, absolutely, huge.
I feel like you've mentioned that quite a few times, so let's touch on that.
Okay.
How important do you think getting someone to fit the right company culture is?
Someone once said to me that I could find the most brilliant technical person, and within 1 year, that person culturally could not be right, and I'd lose 4 people. And it happened to a client who I can't remember. It wasn't me who placed that person, but I just think you go to work, you build friendships, you genuinely, and this is something obviously it's for another time, but the pandemic has created that slight issue here. But I just think unless I understand everything that makes that company tick and what makes them good at what they do, why would a candidate want to not go there? So if I don't talk about that in terms of who they've got there, who the manager is, what the management style is, what they do as socials, what their team meetings are like, how they minimize the sort of BS, how do they become someone you want to work for, you can't do recruitment. Simple as that. So I feel like that's a massive, massive part of it. And there's a big thing in there, marketing, so the employee value proposition. If I don't know that, I can't find someone good for a company. So I feel that's something that I spend a lot of time doing. It's just that I genuinely get inspired by people who have that will to win. That, I guess it goes back to sport. I know you'll laugh, but Tiger Woods, like, there's people, Roger Federer, there's people that just have this insane will to win. And I think if you can get that in life, or you can sample some of that, that's really, really what drives me. Sometimes I've got it and sometimes I haven't. But yeah, if you can get that 8 times out of 10, that's brilliant. That's what inspires me.
I mean, you touch on your wife Jen there for a minute.
Brilliant. She's going to love this.
Yeah, she's going to love us bringing her into this podcast.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about how, so obviously Jen went through a bit of a career transition recently, didn't she?
Yeah.
Again, when I say recently, I mean a couple of years ago.
Exactly,
yeah. Talk us a bit about what happened there and your influence on your wife.
Yes, first thing everyone's going to think, oh, you tried to place your wife. No, I didn't try to place my wife. Going back to what I said about diversity and inclusion in the tech industry, it is a problem. It's very well documented. However, I do think that, I'm going around the houses a bit, but there needs to be more pathways. So Jen was very clever, all A's at A level, and didn't really know what she wanted to do. She was working in a very, very credible job. She was looking after homeless families with families fleeing domestic violence. Really, really good organisation, but she wanted a new challenge. And I think, like I say to lots of people, believe it or not, we got 20, 25 years to work. So now we need to be working on something that's going to give us satisfaction, but also over the long term. So Jen decided that she wanted to do that. We were very fortunate that she got into the National Software Academy in Newport, which is very good because obviously they're teaching emerging technologies and they're doing industry-led learning. She went and did that during the pandemic, looking after our son, who was 2. And yeah, it was particularly challenging, but she did a master's in software engineering, and now she's working in cloud engineering for a company in Newport. So it can be done. It genuinely can be done. She was a mum, and I just think for me it was really important because obviously it was close to me, but it shows that there are different pathways to get into tech, and I think that's something I'm passionate about.
Hopefully we will sit down and do a couple more of these, perhaps on some themes, etc. For now, thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
I hope, I hope people get some value from this.
Yeah, so do I. Hopefully, it's something I don't think many people have done before, and hopefully, I think it should provide some value, and hopefully, people can go Oh yeah, I get what you do.
But thank you very much for your time, and I hope to sit down with you again soon.
No problems. Thanks, Em.